we live?
Yeah.
Woo!
If you're not actually, I'm gonna pull it up on my phone just so we can see
All right.
if we are live here because that would be awesome. That would be fantastic. Oh, we are, dude. Look at this. What?
Oh, what
Whoops.
just happened?
Shit. There's you and me. We're live.
Wow, that's
Fantastic.
whack.
Okay.
We're going live. Hit me.
Fantastic. Okay, so I've got my phone here and I'm going to see if it leaves any comments or anything. So this is something new. I have with my co-host, Dr. Chris, we have broadcast live a couple of the interviews that we did with, for the podcast, and we just use a different system. And I just learned about a new system here that we're using, and we're just trying it out. And so yeah, so we are here.
Seems to be working.
Yeah. So I'm here with Dr. Todd Gignac. I always want to say Gignac.
Yeah. See,
French Canadian way of doing it. And he has a super interesting story that I want to get into. And I was thinking about actually when I was driving over to the office on the way here to record the podcast, I was thinking about some of the things I want to talk to you about, some of the questions I want to ask, and I just also thought about how we met. I mean, I guess I've known of you. I knew kind of who you were. I was familiar with your name, I guess, and I knew your face, I guess, because we were Facebook friends. But I don't know if we've ever met in person.
I don't think so. We're pretty far apart.
Yeah, but it was really interesting. One of the things, I guess, the thing that came up for me the most, or the phrase that came to my mind when I thought about doing our podcast together was this. It was, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
We met through a program, Warrior.
Yeah.
That we're doing together, and there was a lot of intense work, personal development work, and really digging deep into the depths of our soul to become better people, better professionals, better husbands, better, just better. And then we it's interesting that the more that I share of myself, the more that I hear other people share of themselves, we start to see this strand that we're all connected in a much bigger way than we believe. And that, the more that we do the work, the really foundational work to find out who we are and what we're made of and how we want to go about living this life and why we want to go about living this life, the harder that we work, the luckier we seem to get, in the sense that opportunities start to open up. We start to meet people that really help us along our path. But it takes doing that work in the first place. And that's really what I believe with you, is that, that our chance encounter through this program was really not, I don't believe it was chance at all, but it was fantastic, and I think it was because of the fact that I was doing a lot of work, that you were doing a lot of work, that we were really stepping up to that next level, that we really want to be able to be better. And that, that opens us up to not only being vulnerable, but it also opens us up to being more powerful and also more coachable. Yeah, it does. And so I think enough of the preamble. But so thank you so much for being here on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor and privilege, Elaine. I'm glad to be on the show.
So right now you're on the same time zone as I am.
Yeah, it's worked out quite well. This is a little easier than me being in Queensland. I'm always on the phone with people like 5 a.m. And
yeah, right.
It's not super handy.
Yeah, so you are a chiropractor. You practice over in Australia, yet you do not have an Australian accent whatsoever.
No, I am American by birth. So
yeah, so tell me that story about how you got there. About I guess getting into chiropractic, getting into. Give me a bit of the synopsis of your superhero life.
Superhero. I'll give you the synopsis. So actually, I'm born and raised in Florida. Went to university there. Graduated from uni. Went to LA to go to Cleveland Chiropractic College. I always had a dream of living in Southern California, and I had some family out here. So that was a good excuse to move. I'm going to go to chiropractic school. In hindsight, I probably from an education standpoint, might have gone to a different school. But anyway, so that brought me to LA, but everything happens for a reason, right? So while I was in school, I met who eventually became my wife, Carolina. So we dated while I was in school. So graduated from there in '02, and my wife and I got married the week after, and practiced in San Diego for 6 years. And along came an opportunity. There's always a confluence, like you just said. Everything happens for a reason. We had our ups and downs in our professional life, and we started a family. So we had a 3-year-old and an 11-month-old when we moved to Australia. So the opportunity came, Elaine, and we were like, well, that's a big move. Just because there's an opportunity doesn't necessarily mean you should take it, right?
Right.
And so that's where, faith and just listening to your, listening, listen to the voice, listen to what your gut's telling you, listen to what God's telling you. So yeah, we sold everything and left everything we knew, our families and what we were comfortable with, and showed up in a foreign place with a bunch of suitcases and started life again, really. So it was really exciting, and it was obviously all part of our journey and experience, and it's been wonderful. And we've moved around since we've been in Australia for 8 years. We've practiced. We're in our 3rd location now. We started over about 2 years ago from dead scratch, and practice has been great. Got a great team, and yeah, life's been good. Kids are happy. We're happy. And
Cool.
at the moment, as we're speaking, we're in Southern California on holiday. Just got back from Costa Rica, actually. So we're all over.
Fantastic.
The shop, so I'm half awake. I'm just constantly traveling.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so one of the big reasons I want to have you on the podcast, not only because I think you're an awesome dude and I think you're really inspiring for all the stuff that you've done and who you are, even before what we're going to get into, but you decided not too long ago, or I don't even know when it was that you decided this, but you are taking on, I don't want to say it's a side project because it's not at all a side project, but taking on a whole new endeavor professionally as well with Killa Industries.
Killa Industries. So I'll describe that a little bit without taking too long with it. It really was born out of a necessity that came through our own personal need and through our practice and our patient base, which was started off to create a pillow because we didn't like what was available, and obviously health and spine and nervous system was very important to us, just part of our career. And we had patients asking us about pillows, and it's like, there's really nothing sexy about a pillow. It's like, yeah, it's who cares? Like go down to Target or Costco or whatever, and you can buy a 3-pack for $50 or something. Just get some pillows, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we obviously, being chiropractors, we wanted something that was spinally correct and that we were really happy with, that we would feel good about our patients recommending it to them. And at the time, we had nowhere to send them. And my wife, Carolina, had this idea years back to create our own pillow, but being busy with practice and working in my practice with people, I was like, I don't have time to muck around with something like that. Where would you even start? Who would manufacture? There's just so many details I couldn't be bothered. Yeah. And, God opens doors and things happen at the right time. Confluence of circumstances. We met some people through our practice, ironically, and their mother owns a factory, like a machining factory, a seamstress factory. They make school uniforms and Girl Scout uniforms and stuff for the sports teams. And we're like, okay, so maybe she could actually manufacture our pillows. Well, that's step one. And then we worked with her to get a pattern. So we had a pattern for it. And then we started looking into construction materials. Where are we going to source the materials and what should it even be made with? And that was the journey. That right there is what put us on a side spin as we started doing research into the textile industry, cotton industry, and where does this stuff come from and what does it involve? And to make a long story short, Elaine, it's a really kind of a sad and destructive in many ways, the whole industry. And it's a huge industry. I mean, think about it. Just look in your own closet. And, you've got closets full of clothes, which 5 years ago, none of it probably existed. You've replaced it all. And 5 years from now, it'll be replaced again. And you're one person. And multiply that times, let's just say the Western world, we're heavy consumers So someone's got to be producing all this stuff. And, then you got your bedding and your sheets and all this stuff, right? So we got to looking into it, and let's just say the cotton industry in and of itself is one leg of this, which is the biggest one. Most of the cotton is grown in, China and India and Vietnam, third world countries where they don't police or have regulation. So these poor farmers who are just trying to survive and feed their families, they're basically below living wages. They're pretty well treated. We'll just say not so great in most cases, not all cases, but most cases. Even the fair trade stuff. I mean, they're barely eking a living, but they don't have the regulations as to the pesticides and things like that. So cotton is 25%. I'm sorry, cotton's 4% of the world's crops, but uses 25% of all the pesticides. So they're using tons of chemicals just to grow this stuff, which in and of itself, I mean, if you just trace that back, where do the chemicals come from? Some big companies like DuPont or whatever have to actually make, and Monsanto have to make chemicals. So that's destructive to the environment and the planet. And then we go and spray them on everything. And the guys that are doing this in the third world countries, they don't have the same regulation. So they can use stuff that would be outlawed in the US or Australia, and they're not wearing like the protective gear. So the average age of the cotton farmers, like I think I read last, was 35 years old.
The average age?
35. And
Holy
according
shit.
to the World Health Organization, 20 to 40,000 farmers die every year in the cotton industry from cancers and chemical poisoning. 20 to 40, that's every year, man. And
wow.
And who are they doing that for? For people like you and I who can fill up our closet full of some crap that we're going to get rid of in a few years, or we don't even wear half of it, right? Let's be honest,
Yeah.
So we started looking, so it started off with the pillow, but then we're like, dude, we got to go way bigger than this. We need to literally, our vision is to change the industry and change how consumers change the buying criteria, because we don't think about that, and we didn't either, right? I mean, I'm not excluding my own family. We got a closet full of cotton stuff that was made in third world countries and is literally we're raping the planet, we're poisoning it, we're exploiting people in third world countries that we never see or hear about. We just go down to Target or Walmart or Costco and buy our stuff. Oh, look how cheap it is. Let's just get 10 of them because they're so cheap. But it's really not cheap. It's really expensive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. The true cost. No, never mind just the monetary cost. Yeah. Tell me, do you remember the moment, like the thing you read or the thing you saw that oh my gosh, like this is way bigger than just a pillow. Like bring me through that. Do you remember that?
I'd probably have to get my wife Carolina on that question. I can't remember a specific moment because we were just doing research on, say, cotton. And then we just started reading, and then we were looking at like polyester fills, for example. What do we put in our pillow? Well, most pillows are full of polyester. That's where it really started. And we went, okay, polyester. Well, it's cheap. It has a nice fluffy consistency. That's why it's used in pillows. We'll just use polyester. And then we caught on to, polyester, what's that made from? Oh, that's made from crude oil. Well, how does it go from oil to something that goes into your pillow? Well, there's a whole process which uses a bunch of chemicals again, which you can imagine creates a bunch of waste and toxins for our planet. And then polyester, being from crude oil, outgasses for the life of your product or pillow. So you're sleeping on a pillow that's outgassing what's called volatile organic compounds, which are known carcinogens and neurotoxins and hormone disruptors, endocrine disruptors, really, really bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to us, our face is on this 8 hours a day, right? We're like, well, we don't want to use, so that's not an option. We can't put that on our pillow. No way in heck,
Yeah.
So then we started researching, what about cotton? And then we looked into the cotton industry and we're like, holy smokes, it's brutal. 20 to 40,000 farmers are dying every year, and most of them are living in, poverty, wages. Like, that's how we can get stuff cheap. That's how Costco and Walmart fills its shelves, because they're paying these poor people. And to do that, that means manufacturing has left, right? Manufacturing has all but left North America, Australia. It's all overseas. So that's another part of our vision, is that to actually bring awareness to all this and have the consumer start to demand better products and demand
Mhm.
local industry. You know what? I want industry to come back to America. That's what built America and Australia. So between 2000 and 2010, 56,000 manufacturers left the US. 10 years, 56,000 shut down. So where did all those jobs go? How expensive is that? How cheap is our t-shirt now? How many millions of people just lost jobs?
Right.
And and for what? To support the exploitation of our planet and people in other countries. And yeah, man. So the pillow, it was the instigator, and I think, that's an important thing. We're sleeping on it for a third of our life. So why wouldn't you want one that's going to support your body and your health and your spine and not be outgassing
Yeah.
all night long? But then, yeah, bigger vision is we'll get into clothing and stuff down the track when we can.
That's cool.
That's kill industries. There you go.
That's awesome. It's really, I mean, that's fascinating. I mean, I remember when you first told me about it, we were on a Skype call, and I mean, just the way that you, I mean, and just now, the way that you're talking about it, like, it's like, oh yeah, no kidding. Like, this is like,
Yeah.
we should all, number one, be thinking about this. But then I think about, I mean, my brilliant wife, Sarah, is an interior designer, and she designed the office actually that I'm in right now, our chiropractic practice. And she made sure to, I mean, use as many recycled products as possible.
Yeah.
All of our paints are low or lower zero VOC paints. Like, she took great care to do that. And I think it's awesome, but it's one of those things that, number one, nobody will notice unless,
Yeah.
unless we tell them. But the bigger thing is that it's something that is really only happening here. I mean, this is kind of a rarity that things are designed and built, constructed
Yeah.
like the way that we did it. And it's like a problem that is hiding in plain sight
Yeah.
because it's all around us. It's on us. It's everywhere. It's like, it's so pervasive that it doesn't seem to be an issue,
Yeah. Well,
right?
it doesn't. It's like, and it's all a journey. So my wife and I, it's like the curtain gets pulled back, and then you start looking at everything differently. I mean, everything. So it's all driven by the Western world. We're just about consumer. We've been marketed to and programmed to just buy more stuff and get it as cheap as possible. And we bought into that. So if I
Right.
said, hey, look, you can go down to Costco and get a 2-pack of these pillows for $30. But I'm looking at your pillow, Todd, from Killa Industries, Killa Pillow. And it's handmade, hand stuffed, organic cotton and wool from Australia with people who are making $30 an hour because they're skilled craftspeople that are hand stuffing and hand. So it's creating jobs. It's all, you know what I mean? You're not going to get
Yeah.
that. You're not going to get 2 of those for $30. So you're going to look at it and go, well, that's $200. Why would I buy that when I can just go down to Costco and get
Right.
2 of them for $30, right? It's like, well, what are you getting? You're getting poison. Number one, you're contributing to destroying the planet through producing all these chemicals, and you're exploiting the poor farmers and their families in the third world. So it's not cheap, it's expensive. And it's going to
Right.
fall apart. It's going to end up in a landfill and take 200 years to biodegrade. And meanwhile, there's a lot of us who are very conscious. We want sustainable. We want, like you just mentioned, there's people, we're trying to get, chemical-free cleaners for our house. We're trying to remove toxins, and we're being conscious to buy organic and sustainable. Yet we're so programmed as a consumer to get the cheapest damn thing, the best, value for money, but it's poison, and it stands for exactly what we don't want. So my
Yeah.
challenge, I would say, with Killa Industries, our first and foremost goal is education. Just like in
Hmm.
chiropractic, people don't really understand it. They don't have a context for it till you educate them first, and they go, oh, well, shoot, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yes, now that you know this, what do I do about it? Like right now, if
Right.
I said, well, Elaine, this shirt that I have, it's an Adidas, and your shirt you're wearing, God knows what it took to make this thing, but I have nowhere to send you right now to get something better.
Yeah.
So that's our big that's our legacy for us. That's what we want to move into to shift that. First, shift the mindset, and then, okay, I shifted my mind. I don't know where to go now. So where do I get textiles and things that are made in an ethical way with healthy materials and supporting local industry? Well, that's what we want to create.
Yeah.
So
And I think one of the things that fascinates me about this, when we were talking about it, I mean, I'm someone who I'm fascinated by like the macro and the micro patterns, or the macro patterns that start to apply to our own lives. So when I look at something like the textile industry and how pervasive it is, and how, like you're saying, we're absolutely programmed to look for the most for the cheapest and things like that. But then when we kind of break that down into how we think about anything, is
yeah,
almost really how we think about everything, right? So take that concept now, and I mean, you and I know, because we talk about this all the time with our
yeah,
clients and stuff. But the fact is that if, when it comes to our health, when it comes to taking care of ourselves, we're almost programmed to look for the cheapest. What's the most that I can get for the least
yeah.
amount? Like, so now we've got these stupid infomercials on TV who claim, I mean, they don't outright claim, but they're making the insinuation that you can strap some bullshit thing around your waist and all of a sudden you got a 6-pack abs by just plugging this piece of shit into the wall,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you can eat a
And
donut while you're doing it.
exactly. So it's like the whole idea about personal responsibility and about the fact that you actually have to do something. So when we have the awareness, now we
Mm,
actually have to do something different. And I'll tell you,
yeah.
for me, I mean, granted, I kind of grew up in more of I wouldn't say a hippie family, but I think many people from the outside would
Yeah.
characterize us as more of a hippie family. I mean, I was adjusted and checked by chiropractors my dad, since I was born, and kind of grew up in this whole lifestyle where we were eating organic stuff before, like it was called
Before,
organic,
that's
right?
right. Yeah, real
It was just
food.
called food.
Yeah.
And, but it's interesting now coming almost full circle to see. So I've got an 8-month-old daughter, and one of the things that my wife and I were going through when she got pregnant was the fact that, okay, now we've got to equip our child with things to support her life, like a bed and clothing and stuff like that. So we started looking into it, and it's like we walk into a store having the awareness that, like, okay, yeah, we want to make sure that it's as clean as possible. But it's like, number one, it was hard because it's
Yeah.
not like people try to kind of whitewash the whole idea about, that it's green, things like that. Like it's like a marketing thing now.
Yeah. Even like the word fair trade, I think it's abused. But anyway, go on.
Right. Yeah. Well, and Sarah would say, I know she's had many conversations with me about, even the design industry, the design and construction industry. There's a whole standard. Well, I guess one was the LEED standard, LEED, which was supposed to be like this awesome standard for green and sustainable development, and that's kind of gone by the wayside too. It's kind of like a bullshit thing now
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And so yeah, so it's just kind of paying lip service. But one of the things we started realizing was, like, I care about myself, and I care about my wife very, very deeply, but the level to which I care for my daughter is like, it's beyond anything I've ever experienced in my
That
life.
that's our driver, man. Because you're thinking, and you're the same. Our kids are a little older, 8 and 11, and we're
Yeah.
thinking, if the trends keep going, if the trends keep going the way they're going, they're not going to have a planet to even live on.
Yeah.
It's like we're just selling out. We're just selling out, man, for us to save a buck, and the corporations are selling out to make a buck. So
Hmm.
something's got to shift, but it's not going to start with the corporations, because they're never going to stop, because they're just going to try to get as much money as possible. That's their job. So it's
Right.
all going to come from grassroots, from you and I and the people listening and the consumers, to change our habits. Whether it's like you just said, we actually have to do something, and it's not easy, because we've created a lifestyle where, well, I just go to Walmart and I can fill up 3 shopping carts. I only need maybe a third of what's in there, but hey, it's so cheap. I went in there for 3 things, and I came out with 20.
Right.
That's just our culture. So I think we need to just shift. We start asking questions, start looking at, what are things made of, where did it come from, who made it, why, so I
Okay.
mean,
So
just start
on
looking at
that,
where stuff's made from, even, like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Okay. So let's say, okay, so we've got people watching and we've got people listening, and they're like, all right, well, yeah, like that's important to me, but where do I start? So where do they start? What would you do? Or what
That's
would
a
you have
darn
someone
good,
do?
that's a darn good question. When it comes to like food and stuff, obviously you can find clean sources, organic and so on. But when it comes to textiles and clothing, it's few and far between, which is why we're created Killer Industries. That's where we're starting. Um, but I don't really know where to tell people to go. I would say for now, instead of buying new stuff, go to the thrift shops, go to the op shops, and buy secondhand. Stop consuming over and over again. Just consuming. Where can I find stuff that's pre-loved? And you can find some fantastic stuff. So that I would say that's the next best thing
Yeah.
stop going to all the chains and just buying stuff that you're probably not going to be using next year or you're going to throw it away anyway. Just go to the op shop. Start there. You'll
Yeah.
find some great stuff.
I'll tell you, we
Um,
actually did that with our daughter. Actually, when we were looking at stuff like strollers, a car seat, things like that,
yeah,
that we found that there was zero,
nothing wrong with them.
absolutely zero manufacturers that are totally clean, sustainable manufacturers. And so we
Sure.
walk into these stores and it's like off gassing like crazy. And I'm like, my daughter's face is going to be right up against it for every time we're in the thing. So we said, okay, well, how could we get around this? And we did exactly that. We went actually on Craigslist. I don't know
Yep.
wherever people are listening if Craigslist is a big thing, but there's like
Yeah.
there's different kind of
Gumtree in
online
Australia.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it is, wherever you are, is that we found, and we had to actually work. Like it took my wife more so than I it took my wife a long time and a lot of research to find exactly what we wanted and find it used, but still in amazing condition. And
Absolutely.
I mean, that served a couple of purposes for us. Number one, we felt fantastic that we weren't actually consuming, like we weren't just providing more stuff to the freaking landfill,
That's right.
but it was also way healthier for our daughter because it wasn't off gassing as much
Yep.
by that point, and we saved a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It was
So
awesome.
there's where you can save money. Number one, obviously doing the op shops and buying things secondhand. When it comes to, well, look, Todd, I want to get, healthier stuff. I would just say, where can people start? We're big about supporting local. So number one, if there's a mom and pop, locally owned stores, go there. Number one, support them because ultimately, yeah, look, you might pay a few more bucks, but again, that money is going directly back into your local economy, which indirectly is going to come back into your house and your pocket. You
Yeah.
send your money off to some big corporation and off to China and Walmart's. Where does that money go? Whose pockets, who is that serving really? It's not serving any. I would
Yeah.
say too, aside from local, once you find the mom and pops, whether or not you go there or not, but look for stuff that's made from natural materials. Is it made of wool? Is it made of cotton? Ideally, you want organic cotton because if it's not organic, it's been sprayed like crazy, and somebody somewhere is paying for that. Some poor farmer in India is, going to die at 40 from cancer because of all the pesticides. Um,
Hmm.
and it's not good for the planet either. So buy organic. Again, are you going to pay a bit more for that kind of stuff? Yeah, you're going to pay more money. So we think in terms of dollars is expensive. You're paying more. But we need to kind of flip our mindset as to, well, it's not more, it's better. You're buying better, better for the planet, better for your family. So, what's that worth? I would say that that's actually less expensive. Polluting the planet and poisoning your family, that's expensive. Spending a few dollars, you know, buy
Yeah.
buy less, but better.
Yeah.
How about that?
And,
Buy
and
less,
I
but
think,
better.
yeah. And the other thing that I believe that it does is that the sense of fulfillment, the sense of gratitude that I have, I know let's say when we do things that are of like we've chosen value over opportunity, like we're talking about, like you're saying right in the beginning, lots of opportunity, with your practice and stuff like that, right? Lots of opportunities, but it's not necessarily things that you value. And so all of a
Yeah.
sudden, when you do something, and when I do something that that I value, like I want to eat organic. Okay, let's say, and I remember at a time, there was a time when eating organic was like beyond what I thought I could do. And so I chose the things that I could. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and these things I'm absolutely going to buy organic. And then when I
Yeah.
did, I felt fantastic for doing it. I said, yes, I'm accomplished. It was difficult to do in the moment, but the
Yep.
satisfaction that I got from doing it.
Yeah.
Number one, and then also, let's say when it came to, like for us, when it comes to textiles and clothing and things like that, I know that when we buy much better quality things, we buy things that are organic, they last a ton longer as well.
Yeah.
Like, looks better, it feels better, it just
Yeah.
is better.
So
So it's
so that's the criteria, Lane. That's what we need to get to people. And then, and again, we're people. We're just like you and I, the listeners. We're the same journey. It's just that curtain was pulled back. So it's just that it's that quality. So our criteria has been just money. That's what we've been programmed. Just buy less for more. Doesn't matter how much of the planet is raped and pillaged. Hey, it's a good deal dollar wise. But the reality is, if our criteria, our values are one, our own family's health, how much is that worth? I dare you to put a dollar price on your family's health. If one of your family got sick, you'll go to any expense. Oh, $20 for organic apple versus one that's been sprayed? No problem, because my kid's already sick. You would spend the money. So it ain't the
yeah,
money. So number one, your family's health. Number two is the health of the planet and just sustainable, so your kids and your family have somewhere to live, your grandkids have somewhere to live that's not a total cesspool. And and just being ethical. Who are the families just like you and I? Maybe they're in India or Vietnam, but they're human beings, they're people, they have feelings, and they have a health and a livelihood, and they want what we want. Granted, we just got back from Costa Rica, right? And by and large, most of those people, they don't have much, right? Their houses are probably the size of the kitchen and dining room I'm sitting in right now, their whole house, and there might be 6 people living in it. But you know
hmm
what? You meet these people, and guess what? They're happy, man.
yeah,
They're perfectly content. But we've created this weird reality where, well, we're not happy unless we've got the biggest home the bank will give us money for, unless we got 3 cars, we need a flat screen TV in every room, and thank God for Costco and Walmart, because it makes it all possible.
yeah.
And then, it's like this whole mindset. Then everybody's working their tail off to try to make ends meet, to buy more stuff that we really don't need, that's poisoning us and the planet anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just put it in reverse for a second and slow things down. What do you really need? And yeah, just buy healthy, good stuff. You're going to feel good for it.
Right.
Be
And I
better
think
off.
something you said earlier, I think is a really good point to make as well, again, is that you're saying, like, it's not going to be industry that's going to make the decision to, like, it's not going to be the DuPonts and the all those companies to be
Yeah.
like, what, we're going to turn everything around and we're going to make everything clean and safe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes us, but I think what happens, and I know this happens when it comes to our health, because I do it. I've done it for sure. And I work with people, and you work with people all the time that do it. It's like we think, okay, I want this, but I may not know how to do it, and it seems like a lot of work. So I'm gonna kind of wait until the government figures it out, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
wait until some biotech company figures it out. And and I remember actually there was a video I was watching the other day, actually with our one of our mentors, Garrett J. White, and
Yeah.
he was talking about the idea of pensions. He was listening to some guy talking about waiting until they got their pension when they got old enough and they could quit their jobs and stuff like that. And he got into the idea, like, well, how much of our life are we just expecting other people to take care of for us? And I think there's more and more of that. I mean, the fact that we have this incredible technology all around us that does some amazing, amazing things for us. I think one of the things that it takes away from us is that opportunity to be in power within ourselves, to have responsibility for the choices that we make. But
Yeah.
interestingly, is that regardless of whether you believe you're making a choice or not, like if you're just leaving it up to someone else, you are making a choice that has consequences.
That's right.
Right?
That's a good point, is your choices, good or bad, have consequences. So what do
Yeah.
if your only choice is, well, I want to save a few bucks, or I need 3 TVs, there's going to be there's consequences to that. And you just hit it too, like with the pension and things like that. It's kind of like we've been, again, programmed to take away our accountability and to add a sense of entitlement. Well, I'm entitled for somebody else to look after me. I'm entitled for the government to take care of me. Well, the government doesn't have money. Well,
Yeah.
it's the government will pay for it. With what? That's called taxpayer money. That's my money. That's your money. The government has
Yeah.
nothing. So anything the government gives anybody, they had to take it from you and I to give it to them. Well,
Yeah.
that's only going to go so far before it collapses, and we can see
Right.
that. But that's that mentality, right? We just shirk accountability. Someone else will take care of it. And the reality is, we are the someone else. We have to put our money where our mouth is. The same people, and I was guilty too, the same people that's complaining about the economy or complaining about, we're poisoning the planet, but we're actually contributing to that unknowingly, usually, through our very choices as a consumer.
Yeah.
So
So what do you do with this idea here? There's this idea that, and I fall into this too, as a thinker of things, we have this conversation and we start to go down this rabbit hole and we see that, wow, like I was saying earlier, the problem is in plain sight. It's hiding in plain sight because it's so pervasive. It is absolutely everywhere. And when that seems to be like it's absolutely everywhere and it's part of everything, it becomes an enigma as to how, like, I'm one person out of 7+ billion people. Like, how much difference could I really make, number one? And would it even matter? Like, it's such a big thing, right? And I don't know, I've got an idea about it. What's your idea about it?
Well,
I don't know that there's not a definitive answer to this, I think, but.
Well, I think if we're just in the context of, let's just say we're talking about, at least in this podcast here, this chat we're having, the context of just say consuming and material things or what have you. In that context, the Western world predominantly dominates that and or sets the trend. And in the Western world, I would say the USA would be the driver of those trends. So let's just focus on the U.S. for a second, because if we can change it in the U.S., it'll, in my opinion, it'll set the trends and so on, right?
Yeah, and Canada's I think would be very, very close behind, if not right there.
Exactly. I mean,
Because we like to think we're very different. We're probably not.
Yeah, not in a consumer sense anyway. And then Australia would follow suit. So if we just say, okay, well, there's 7 billion, that's mind blowing. But if we just look at America, there's 330 whatever million. And there's a lot of people, there are millions in America that think and would at least understand what you and I are talking about. They will get it. And they go, you know what? You're right. That is important. All we need is a few million of those people who are heads of that own businesses, who are head of their household, so to speak. And those millions start making conscious choices and having these discussions in their businesses and in their household. And then boom, that just changes the trend. And then when we change the trend of the country and the consumers start demanding that corporations and companies make other things accessible, like, hey, we want organic. We want stuff that's made in the US or made in Canada or made in Australia, not exploiting some poor guy in Vietnam. I have no issue with providing jobs for people in third world countries, but at the expense of, jobs in our own country, that doesn't really make sense.
Right.
And not only that, it avails them to be exploited because they don't have regulations that we have in our country. So they're just totally exploited. So I think we can start a movement. You and I, one person, we start with our family. That family starts talking and they talk to their friends' family because it just makes sense. It's logical. You know what? You're right. And it's really cool. There's a big thing with timing, and right now, especially with the millennials, I'm not sure what I am, a Gen X or something like that, but the 20 to 40 year olds, they're the ones that are thinking about the future and the planet and sustainability. Like, these conversations are happening already, right? So, but I don't know, at least I haven't heard much about this conversation about, textiles and just consumerism and how we just need to flip our buying criteria so that it's a healthy one for our families, for the planet, and people in these developing countries. So, yeah, man.
Well, I think
It
it's
starts
yeah,
it
you're
starts
absolutely
with us. It starts with one.
yeah, absolutely, and it reminds me of a fable or not, it's not a fable, like it's a story about a young guy is walking along the beach at sunrise, and he sees this older gentleman on the beach, and he's taking these starfish that are like just littered on the beach. There's like millions and millions and millions of starfish all on the beach, and the old man is picking up the starfish and he's throwing them back in the ocean, and he just pick one up one after another. He's just throwing them in the ocean, and the young guy goes up to him and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, if these starfish don't go back into the water because of the low tide, they'll die out here because they should be in the water." And the young guy looks down the beach and he's like, "Dude, are you insane? There's millions and millions of these starfish here." He's like, "What? How much of a difference are you gonna make?" And the old guy kind of looks and kind of ponders and like, hmm. And then he picks up another starfish, throws it in the water, and he's like, "It made a difference to that one."
That's right.
And it's
Maybe.
absolutely, I think you're absolutely right. It just takes one person. And I think about, like I may not be, I'm no Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or whoever, but somebody that I have the opportunity to influence might be the
Yeah.
next one, right?
Well,
And so we never underestimate the power that we have in making the choices that we have, because we don't, especially with my daughter now, she's watching. She's
that's
watching.
exactly right. Your kids are listening, everybody.
Yes.
And you just hit it on the head. So if we can get our message, and that's what's beauty about, Facebook and podcasts and social media platforms and so on, is we can reach so many people, and doesn't have to cost anything. It can be free. So my opinion is, if we can reach families, all we need to do is, as individuals, if we just focus on our own household, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure which story in the Bible it is, but they had to build a wall,
Okay.
and the wall had to be many, 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 many miles long, and they're like, there's no way we're going to get it done in time, because they were going to be invaded, and they wanted to build a wall. And the leader, for those who know the Bible, are like, he should know all this, but anyway, he said all he did, the leader just said, all I need you to do is to go home and you just build a wall in front of your house. So each family just focused on building a wall in front of their house, and that got the job done around the city. So same concept, just you learn something, go home and start in your house, and your neighbors and your friends and your extended family, they're all going to be watching and listening and learning, and then they just start to adopt that as well.
Yeah.
So I think it, there's been monumental shifts throughout history, and it all had to start somewhere. Maybe there was only 4 billion people then, but still, that's a lot of people, and it shifted. Just look in the last 100 years, what's changed, with ideas, and a little passion behind it, and a little action. Big shifts, man. Big shifts. So I think our listeners can just start, like you said, where do we go? I would just advise the listeners to just start thinking about those things. Number one, look at where your stuff comes from. Where is it made? What is it made of? Where can I consume less? Where can I buy better, more ethically produced and sustainably produced goods? And as we learn more, we'll get it out there. And the more we're looking for it, and the more that we're demanding it, guess what's going to show up? The stuff that we need. There'll be people producing them. We're going to be one, and I'm sure there'll be others. So it's exciting. It's exciting times. I don't want to be doom and gloom. It's actually exciting. It's got to happen.
Yeah, you're starting a movement.
Start a movement, man. Join the
movement.
movement.
That's the thing. That's one of the coolest things, is that when I first talked to you about it, it wasn't that you guys were creating another thing, another widget, another product. You guys were creating a movement.
Yeah, well, that's what. Thank you for saying that, because that's, I've talked to some people, like, our first product's a pillow. So the knee-jerk reaction is, well, who cares about a pillow? Who cares, right? Like, I got 12 on my bed. I got to throw 10 of them off at night to go to sleep, right? But why do we need another pillow? But it's not about the pillow. It's the story behind it, what it represents, going forward, which we've just chatted about. So, it's exciting, man.
Cool. So
It's
as we
killer.
close, it's killer. Exactly.
Killer.
So how do people connect with you guys? How do people find out
Well,
more and get involved?
thank you for asking. We are literally in kind of a pre-launch stage, if you will. So the only person we've really even communicated this with is really the chiropractic industry, being that the pillow was really designed that way to suit a healthy spine and nervous system. But I mean, anybody can benefit and anybody can get a hold of this stuff. But our website is at the moment is Killa Pilla, KILLAPILLA, killapilla.com.au. And our Facebook.
I'll have it all on I guess for people watching on the Facebook Live, or if you're watching not live on Facebook, I'll put it in the comments. If you're listening to it on the podcast, I will have all of this stuff and a bunch of show notes and tons of great resources for you to check out on the show notes page as well. So
we'll dial it in. And then we got a Facebook page too. Definitely get on that and like it, because we're going to be putting all these concepts and education stuff onto that for people to become more aware of what's going on. So that's Killa Industries. If you look up Facebook and Killa Industries, you'll find us there.
how did you come up with the name, by the way, too?
Well,
it's a great name.
It started with the pillow, like, what do we call the thing? And I'm all killer pillar, which is really cheesy. And Carolina goes, because we're in Australia, right? They don't say, there's no ER on anything. There's no killer. It's killer, mate. Or it's not a supermarket. It's super. It's a supermarket, you know? So I said killer pillar, just kind of jokingly being cheeky. And she goes, how about killer pillar? And I'm like, silly, cheeky, but it works. Let's go with it. I love it. It just stuck. Killer pillar. Why not? You know? And then we're like, well, if we expand into other textile related things, we can't, you know, what do we call it? So it just became Killa Industries is the overriding brand or company. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Dude, well, thanks so much for being here, man. This has been so much fun.
This is cool, and we figured out how to do this whole Facebook Live / record. We're getting very techie.
We're getting very techy. This is fantastic. I love being able to connect with people. And, you know, if you're watching right now, you're listening to it, either whether you're live or not, please share with somebody who needs to know this. We want to get this movement out to everybody. And remember, I mean, how you do anything, how you think about anything is how you think and do everything. So choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
And be awesome. And get a killer pillar.
Get a killer pillar. Wake up and be awesome. Buy less but better.
Yes.
Thanks for having me on the show, Dr. Lane.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. And thanks for everybody for watching and or listening. And you're awesome. And be awesome today.
God bless everybody.
Ciao.